Well, I want to thank everybody for coming, especially members of the media. We do have some folks that do cover us quite a bit. Tim Smith, Observer and Eccentric, George Sipple, Detroit Free Press, and some of the others. Thank you very much for being here. Due to the pleasant promotion of Mike Vellucci to the Carolina Hurricanes and the continued growth here at Compua Arena, we've shifted and promoted some people around, and here to talk about it. Plymouth Whalers owner, Compua Arena owner, and the owner of the Carolina Hurricanes, Pete Carmanos.
It's been a long time since somebody applauded me. For good reason, I think. Listen, this is a fun kind of press conference because the people involved have worked very, very hard over several years, and it's nice to be able to have this kind of conference. Mike Vellucci, as you all know, was promoted to the assistant GM at the Carolina Hurricanes. His boss, if his boss hadn't been there, Mike would have probably been the general manager of the Carolina Hurricanes, but he has to play second fiddle at this point in time to Ronnie Francis, who is a Hall of Fame player. And as I was announcing at a outing, a charity golf outing, he was the fourth leading scorer in the NHL history. And I announced that the players ahead of him were Wayne Gretzky, Gordie Howe, and Mark Messier. And I never realized that Ronnie was that good of a player, even though I'd watched him play for 20 years. I mean, it's quite a thing. Anyways, Mike has done a tremendous job with the Whalers, and he's going to remain as governor, which means that he'll go to league meetings and be responsible for those kind of decisions for the Plymouth Whalers. Dennis Moore, where's Dennis at? There's Dennis. Has been promoted to the president and chief financial officer of the Whalers and the Compua Arena, which to those people that only worry about what happens on the ice, maybe the second most important person in an organization, in a hockey organization, is the president and the chief financial officer. Even the OHL has gotten to be a very big business for these teams. The budgets are in the millions of dollars, and revenue hopefully is somewhat above the budget. Running a major junior hockey team still is more a labor of love, both by the owner and the people associated with it. Mike Henry has been promoted to vice president and general manager of the arena. Mike, the nice thing about this is in a former life, I knew Mike's dad really well. He was a class guy, still is, and Mike is following in his footsteps. Mark Craig has been hired as the general manager of the Plymouth Whalers. Mark was our first coach, I think, at the Windsor Spitfires in 1984. He had a great quote at one time. He was playing Sault Ste. Marie, up in Sault Ste. Marie, in one of Mike's first games, and one of the leather-lunged fans in the Sioux shouted down to Mark, "Do you think your team's ever going to touch the puck?" Our team was that bad. Mark was one of the original people when we put together the Compua youth hockey program. Mark ran the program. Obviously did a fantastic job. Realized that he had a lot of things to learn, about hockey, even though when he was a kid he thought he knew everything, and has learned a lot of things, has been very successful in business, and was kind enough to come back and be the general manager of the Plymouth Whalers, even though we had to fire him way back in 1984, right?
Might have been the only mistake you ever made.
Yeah, it might have been. I've made a few others. Donnie Elland has been promoted to the head coach of the Whalers. Donnie was one of the finest amateur hockey coaches you'd ever want to run into. And he's worked with Mike for a couple years as assistant coach. He's done a fantastic job, and I'm sure he will take our Plymouth Whalers to greater heights. I won't give him a timetable, but next season would be really nice. And Joe Steffen, who also has worked with Mike, has been promoted to the assistant general manager of the Whalers. Joe, are you here? Joe's over there. Again, it's one of those nice stories of somebody coming in the organization and having positive experiences and us being able to promote them. This venue here and the Whalers have had tremendous success on the ice. This arena is the envy of most hockey programs in the country. We built this arena mainly to honor all the hockey parents that I'd met through all the years, so that they wouldn't have to freeze to death when they came to see their kids play, and they could actually sit down and maybe even get some food or a cup of coffee. And it's worked out really well. It's been an excellent venue for the Plymouth Whalers, and I'm really proud of this building. I'm really proud of the team, proud of the franchise, and I'm proud of the direction it's going in. So with that, am I supposed to give it to somebody else now? You get to talk.
Yep. Next up, a gentleman's going to Carolina, a well-earned promotion, Mike Vellucci.
Is that because I'm leaving you're clapping? Or no, I just wanted to say a few words. Thanks, Mr. Kermanis, for giving me the opportunity to coach here and run this operation for the last 23 years. So I appreciate it. And then I just want to say a few words about Mark. I respect him a lot. Mark coached me in midgets, I don't know how many years ago, 30-some years ago. But I view Mark as a mentor. He has been out of the game for a while, but he's never been out of distance for me, because we've talked quite a bit for the last several years. I've bounced trades or ideas off him. Mark's a great guy. I respect him a lot, and I know he's going to do a great job. And I'm really happy for him, because this is something that he's wanted to do for a long time, and I know he'll do awesome. Don Elland, I've known for, Jesus, it was about the same amount of time. Don's a great guy, good friend, and an excellent hockey coach. I'm very confident he will do a great job. He has a great hockey IQ. The players respect him, and I know he'll do a great job. And I look forward to being able to watch these guys take over the program and do a great job. Mark.
One of the questions I get quite a bit over the last few days is, who is Mark Craig? Well, we're going to find out in a real big hurry, not only today, but in the upcoming years. Mark Craig.
Thank you. Nice to see some old faces from Windsor in the crowd, too. Terry, thanks. First of all, I would be remiss if I didn't thank my wife, who thought her hockey days were over. When I presented this to her 5 or 6 weeks ago, I think she thought her next job in hockey was going to be a hockey grandmother, and instead she's going to be a hockey wife again. Also, I have to tell you, I met Pete 30 years ago. and we went out to the Golden Mushroom. Any of you that are old enough to remember the Golden Mushroom, that's where we had lunch. And Pete talked about his vision of a hockey business, and he talked about a hockey club with arena management and hockey schools and an OHL team and a pro team and winning the Stanley Cup. And talk about visionaries. 30 years ago, he talked about it, and you see what he's done. And for me, I think if all of us, as you look back at your life, there's difference makers. There's people that impact your life that show who you're going to be and help you become that person. For me, it was Pete Karmanos. And part of his talk about me, you got the message. Pete's honest with his friends. You don't always want to hear it, but he's honest. And I have to tell you, I'm a much better person today than I ever would be without him. And for that, I thank him, not just for this opportunity, but for having been in my life the last 30 years. So, Pete, thank you. He wasn't as good a dresser back then, I'll tell you that. First time I met him, he had on a Pac-Man t-shirt, blue jeans, and a Greek fisherman cap. So, Mike Vellucci, I met, he was 16 years old. And he came to our first midget tryout. There was 125 kids at this tryout. And if I had been a smart coach, I would have put 60 pucks on the ice and let the fastest, smartest, and strongest, whoever had one, gets to stay. But Mike made the team, and that was a team that had two eventual NHL All-Star defensemen on it, Al Iafrate and Kevin Hatcher. And interesting enough, on that team, the guys that did the dirty work were the guys that were the difference makers, and Mike was one of those guys. Great in the locker room, great teammate, and I was never surprised at how successful he was as both a coach and a general manager and the president of this organization. We've been good friends for a long time, always cherished our relationship, and because of that, though I may not have been on the payroll, I've always been close to this organization, and my passion for it has never been left behind. So I am excited to be here, and what I will bring is passion. But Mike, thank you. The other thing I want to say is I think the Ontario Hockey League is the finest hockey league in the world, and there's going to be a lot of people who are going to disagree with me on that. But if you spend any time at all watching junior hockey and give it an opportunity and get to know these kids through watching them on the ice and realize the passion they play with and the dream they're trying to capture, it's an amazing ride. And if some of our fan base that love to watch pro hockey would just come to a few games so they can start to capture who these kids are, I think they'd be amazed at what not only great hockey it is, but these kids and how hard they work and their desire. And my goal is going to be to try to help this organization, help the people that are working with me, help these kids attain their goal. And the ones that don't achieve that goal, we've got to find a way to help them achieve their next dream and be good community citizens and be good people. And I think that's what this organization's been about for over 30 years. So I'm happy to be here. When I took the job, it was very important to me that a couple people stayed in the organization, and Joe Steffen was one of them. And I met with Joe and made it clear to him that if he wasn't going to be part of this and he wouldn't be my assistant general manager, it was going to be difficult for me. So, Joe, thank you. The other guy I called that was very important to me was a dear old friend, Terry McDonald, and I want to thank him for sticking around and sitting in the suite with me and making sure he keeps me straight. And Kirky Scott, same to you, thank you. With that being said, I've known Don Elland. He's one of my ex-players, also played for me almost 35 years ago maybe. Don was 15 when I first met him, and I actually coached Don for 4 seasons, both in midget hockey and junior A hockey. And then watched him coach in this organization for the past 10 to 15 years. And what you're going to find is that, first of all, he's got a great hockey IQ. He's one of my top 5 guys when it comes to hockey IQ, knowing what's going on the ice, figuring it out, and being able to make adjustments. Great teacher. I think the players are going to reap a great benefit from him. He has a great way of teaching. There's going to be days they don't care for him very much, but there's also going to be days that they're going to appreciate everything he does. Many of his ex-players, a couple of them in the pros today, still call him for advice, still text him after games to see if he watched the game. And this season, the last 5 seasons, I've been pretty close to this program watching Don and Mike work the program. And we can be at CJ's having a pizza after, and the kids are texting left and right to get his opinion on how the game went and what happened. So I think we've got a guy that will be a difference maker for these kids. And with that, Don Elland.
Thank you very much. I would just like to thank Mr. Karmanos for giving me this opportunity. It's not lost on me what a prestigious job this is and how lucky I am to have it. And also Mike Vellucci, who brought me back in 4 years ago when I learned so much. I had never been an assistant coach. And just watching the way Mike worked and the way he handled things, and I've learned so much in 4 years that I don't think I could have been ready for this job if I hadn't had the opportunity to work with Mike for 4 years. And a lot of people don't know me. I've only been around for 4 years because I was gone for a while. CompuWare and Plymouth is the only place I've ever coached. It's the only place I've ever wanted to coach. Everything you need to be successful is right here. This is a great program. And I consider myself to be very fortunate to be in this position, and I look forward to getting started. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. We'll open it up to questions to the media if you have any. I have one to start. This is for Mike and Pete. We had 23 Whalers play in the NHL this past season. When you watch a Tyler Sagan or a Tom Wilson or a Connor Carrick, it's got to be a real source of pride, right?
Yeah, most of the time. When you think,
I told you he was honest.
When you think Wilson and Carrick probably should have played here last season, it sort of bothers you. You don't like to see a general manager pushing the kids, but that general manager ended up losing his job this year. And we think one of the reasons is he took our players when they shouldn't have. Anyways, yeah, the 23 kids in currently playing. Is it 23 currently playing?
23 this year.
That are playing?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know it was that many. That's
Some
cool.
were stars like Tyler Sagan, and some were guys going back and forth between the American League and the NHL.
That's one of our players. Yeah. It is. I've never looked at it that way. You know, when we ran a junior, Tier 2 junior program, I think there were times when we had 20 or 30 kids playing Division I hockey. You know, the same sense of pride that you've got a kid to take the next step in his career. It's really nice that they played in your program. But really, I don't take that much pride because I know each one of those kids has worked his tail off to get to where he's at. And we would just happen to be a stop along the way that didn't cause him to get a detour. So you can take pride in that, but, you know, understand it's the athlete that's really paying the price and doing the work.
Yeah, no, I think it shows a lot for the program, and I've always said that my number one job with the Whalers is to get them to the next level as fast as possible and help them have a long, steady career. And I always said that you know that's what sells our program is that I think that is the most of any Canadian Hockey League team right now. So it's a proud moment for us as coaches to have a small piece in their development.
Thank you. Any questions from the media? Want to thank you for coming out, Sean Belisian.
Don, you've been an integral part of, you know, some of the success the last few years, but every coach has his own, I guess, touch, if you will. What's going to be the mission statement for your team?
We're going to be aggressive. We're going to play aggressive, but that's the way Mike's team's played. You know, I think there's a right way to play and a wrong way to play, and Mike's team's always played the right way. We're going to continue to try to do that. I think some of the changes might be just from personnel. Our power play might change a little bit simply because all the top unit's gone. So now you got to take the next group of guys and figure out what works best for them. But we'll be aggressive, and I think we'll be physical. and hopefully we'll stay out of the penalty box, but we're going to continue to keep doing the way we played.
Any other questions? Tim Smith?
This is for Mr. Carmanos. I've noticed a lot of the common threads with Mike in bringing back Mark and hiring Don. Things like family, community, and loyalty to organization to this area. Do you feel all these new moves reinforce all of that? And how do you feel about the Whalers and Plymouth moving forward?
Well, you know, to be frank about it, it's tough running an OHL team in a major league city. Our attendance has been good, but it's not great. You look down 401 and you see the London Whalers selling out, London Knights selling out every game. You know, if you had to sell the team, you might want to move into one of those cities rather than keep it playing here. You know, like I said, it's become an expensive business. It's a big business. If we could get the attendance where we think it should be here, I think the future is great. If we continue to draw a couple thousand people a game, we're going to have to take a look at some options.
Any time frame and how long?
You know, next year. You know, I can't really answer that question. I mean, I've stuck it out for a long time. We have one of the best franchises, if not the best, on the ice in the OHL. But we're operating in Hockey Town, all right? And it's an NHL city, so it's tough. It just depends how long all these guys want to be able to fight the good fight. I think as the OHL grows in popularity, I think it will benefit from it here in Plymouth as well. But it's a great brand of hockey. It's fun to come to the games. They're generally on the weekend or on Thursday night, which is sort of the weekend. For some people, it is the weekend. It's well worth the dollars that you pay for the ticket.
If there's nothing else, I want to thank everybody for coming, and we'll break up into one-on-ones. Again, thanks. Next up, the NHL draft coming up at the end of June. Training camp right around the corner. But again, thanks for coming out. Really do appreciate it.